Picture this. You just got paid. Your bank account looks better than it has all month. You feel that small rush, that brief sense of relief. And then, almost without noticing, it's gone. Rent, subscriptions, groceries, a dinner out, a few things you ordered online at midnight. And suddenly, you're 2 weeks from payday staring at a number that doesn't make sense. Because here's the part that doesn't add up. You're not broke. Not technically. You earn a decent salary, maybe even a good one. But somehow, the money just disappears. And every month, it's the same cycle. Earn, spend, stress, repeat. If that feels familiar, stay with me. Because today, we're not going to talk about budgeting apps or cutting out coffee. We're going to talk about the actual reason this keeps happening. And it has almost nothing to do with how much you earn. My name is Alex, and I spend a lot of time thinking about money, investing, and why most people struggle financially without ever realizing why. And what I've found is this. Most people don't have an income problem. They have an invisible system problem. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's start with a number. According to a study by Lending Club, nearly 60% of Americans were living paycheck to paycheck in recent years. But here's what makes that stat genuinely disturbing. It wasn't just people earning minimum wage. It included people earning $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year. People with good jobs, real careers, promotions, and raises they worked years for. Still broke. Not homeless broke, not struggling to eat broke, but zero financial cushion broke. One unexpected bill away from panic. And if you ask most of those people what happened, they'll say the same thing. I don't know where it all goes. And that right there is the most important sentence in this entire video. Because the money didn't disappear. It went somewhere very specific. You just weren't the one deciding where. See, most people think financial failure looks like bad decisions, like gambling, or reckless spending, or buying things you clearly can't afford. But that's not what's actually happening to most people. Most people are making thousands of completely reasonable decisions that collectively drain everything they have. A streaming service here, a food delivery there, an upgrade that felt justified, a purchase that made sense in the moment. None of them feel wrong. All of them, together, are quietly bleeding you dry. And here's the psychology behind why. There's a concept in behavioral economics called lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the most silent wealth killers in existence. Here's how it works. When your income goes up, your spending goes up to match it, almost automatically. You get a raise, so you move to a slightly nicer apartment. You get a bonus, so you upgrade your car. You land a better job, so your whole lifestyle shifts upward, and none of it feels irresponsible because you earned it. That's the trap. Lifestyle inflation doesn't feel like overspending. It feels like progress. But here's what's actually happening. Every time your income rises and your expenses rise to meet it, your savings rate stays exactly the same, 0, or close to it. So you're earning more than you ever have, and you have nothing to show for it. Now layer on top of that something called hedonic adaptation, which is just a fancy way of saying we get used to things fast. That nicer apartment that felt amazing in month 1, by month 4, it's just where you live. The car upgrade that felt like a reward, 6 months later, it's just your commute. So you spend more, feel the same, and now you need even more just to feel like you're getting ahead. It's a treadmill. And the speed keeps increasing. But here's what nobody talks about. This isn't a willpower problem, it's an environment problem. People don't fail financially because they're lazy or irresponsible. They fail because the entire world around them is engineered for spending. Think about it. Every app on your phone was designed by a team of people whose entire job was to make spending feel frictionless. One tap, delivered tomorrow. No cash changing hands, no physical resistance, just a number that changes on a screen somewhere. And your brain? Your brain never evolved for a world where resources were scarce, where spending required visible effort. You had to physically go somewhere,
hand over something, feel the weight of the exchange. Now it's invisible, and invisible money gets spent. There's actually research from MIT showing that people spend significantly more when using credit or digital payments compared to cash, because cash feels real. Tapping your phone doesn't. So when someone tells you, just be more disciplined, they're asking you to out-willpower a system that billion-dollar companies spend decades designing to beat you. That's not a fair fight, and trying harder isn't the answer. Building a smarter system is. So here's the shift that actually changes things. Stop trying to control your spending after the money arrives. Start controlling it before. This is called paying yourself first, and it sounds simple, but most people have it completely backwards. The average person earns money, pays their bills, spends on whatever comes up, and saves what's left. The problem, nothing is ever left, because money sitting in a checking account will get spent. It's not weakness, it's psychology. Available money feels like permission, so the fix is to remove the permission before you have a chance to use it. The moment your paycheck hits, a portion moves automatically. Not when I get around to it, not at the end of the month, immediately, automatically, before you touch it. Now here's where people get this wrong. They think they need to save a lot to make it matter. They don't. Let me show you why. If you automate just $200 a month starting at age 25, invested at an average 8% return, by 65, that's over $700,000 from $200 a month. Now imagine you waited until 35 to start. Same amount, same return. You'd end up with around $300,000. That 10-year delay cost you $400,000, not because you spent more, because you waited. Time is the most expensive thing you're not thinking about, and this is where the real problem lives. It's not that people don't want to save, it's that saving requires a decision every single month, and decisions are exhausting, so they get skipped. The solution is to eliminate the decision entirely. Automate it once, let it run, and suddenly you're building wealth without thinking about it. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because the problem isn't just behavioral, it's also identity. Most people think of themselves as consumers, not investors, not builders, consumers. And your identity drives your decisions more powerfully than any budget ever will. There's a psychological principle called identity-based behavior. The idea is simple. When you see yourself as someone who invests, you make investment decisions. When you see yourself as someone who saves, saving feels natural. But when you see yourself as someone who deserves to enjoy their money, every purchase becomes justified, every splurge becomes earned, and the financial gap between who you are and who you want to be quietly widens. The people who consistently build wealth aren't just better with numbers, they think about money differently. They see every dollar not as something to spend, but as something to deploy. Money, to them, is a tool, not a reward, and that one mental shift changes every decision that follows. So let me bring this together. You're not broke because you don't earn enough. You're broke because the system around you was built to take your money quietly. Through lifestyle inflation that feels like progress, through frictionless spending that bypasses your better judgment, through an identity that was shaped by a culture built on consumption. None of that is your fault. But it is your responsibility to see it, because once you see it, you can build against it. Automate their savings before you spend. Design your environment so good decisions happen by default. Start seeing yourself as someone who builds, not just earns. And then be patient, because wealth doesn't announce itself. It builds quietly, consistently, invisibly, until one day you look up and realize you're not on the treadmill anymore. The people who get there don't look different. They didn't earn more, stress less, or get lucky. They just stopped letting the system decide for themselves.